everybody, happy Monday. So excited to start a new week of streams. Although this week is pretty crazy. So the streaming schedule is going to be a little up in the air. There will be 3 streams this week. However, it'll be today, maybe tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, Thursday, and then definitely on Friday. I got a lot of screenings to go to, and they're at weird times and other stuff going on. So there will be 3 streams this week. However, they're going to be a little all over the place. So, hey, Roman. Hey, I Talk Marvel 227. I forgot you guys are using these things to get your comments extra attention. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. Hey, Liam, welcome back. All right, so I'm talking about the lawsuits, the potential Disney Marvel lawsuit situation, and that's its own video, which I've already filmed and will edit after this live stream. I didn't want to do the live stream too late, but that video will go up this evening. All right, so we have some really interesting things to discuss today, and I'm doing, let me get to the boop. Hold on, here we go. Boop. Okay, so I'm doing a Midnight Mass review in the live stream because I watched it over the weekend. I didn't have anything to watch, and so I was like, I need something to watch. So I started to watch this. I got sucked into it. I finished it last night, late last night. And then I went and I saw that there was not much interest in it online. I was like, wow, that's interesting. No one cares about Midnight Mass. Hey, Eric. So I was like, hey, I'll review it here. Hey, Yoel Capote, thanks for joining. I was like, I'll review it here. Don't worry, this is a non-spoiler review. But there are a couple of things that I want to talk about with it. How I felt about the show. So first off, I thought the first episode was not particularly good. So you're going to watch the first episode and be like, come on, Grace, what are you talking about? This isn't any good. But you know what? On Sunday night, I really wanted to watch something. I'd had a rough day, and I was like, I just want to watch something that's like fun. And I was like, at the very least, I like Mike Flanagan. I've liked everything that Mike Flanagan has done except for The Shining. Bly Manor, I thought was a little off, but I still think that, it had entertainment value. So I was like, this is going to have good production values. I have a pretty good mystery. I'm a big Hamish Linklater fan. So I was like, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, even though I'm a fan of his work. I only ever see it written down. But I was like, I'm just going to watch this. It should be fun. It'll be something nice for me to do. So I turned on episode 2. Yeah, Dr. Sleep. Didn't like Dr. Sleep. I know some people liked it, but not a lot because it tanked at the box office. But anyway, turned it on, got sucked into the mystery. I had to find out how it ended. So I actually binged episodes 2 through 7 in a single day. I felt it got a little cheesy, got a little genre-y. However, I felt that it reminded me a lot of Shirley Jackson. It reminded me like a good story, like a good horror story. I thought there were really interesting elements to it. I liked that. Now, hey, Ulysses Hernandez. So why isn't it more popular, right? It's only number 3 on Netflix, and no one's talking about it too much beyond like those who would talk about it, right? Well, I have a couple of theories on this. First, I think Bly Manor was a bit of a misstep, and I think a lot of people feel, it was hard for them to go back to Mike Flanagan. They're like, Bly Manor burned me. In fact, people were trash talking Bly Manor on Twitter a couple of days ago, and some people were fighting back and defending Bly Manor, but when Midnight Mass came out, everyone started talking about Bly Manor. So I think that's very telling. Then I thought that the trailer was really bad. I did not like the trailer for Midnight Mass. I couldn't tell if it was a movie or a series. At first, I thought it was a movie. It looks too much like the Gareth Evans thing that recently came out with Dan Stevens. You're like, I don't want to watch this too. And also, the other problem I think that it has is that it addresses religion. And it addresses religion, I think, in a very interesting way. But I think it has some discussion about religion that maybe religious people, and there are a number of them, would not appreciate. So I feel that, whenever you're going to tackle religion, you got to be really careful that you don't want to turn people off. So while I appreciated the religious discussion, I think perhaps some other people did not. All right, so I thought that the religion discussions, at least for the beginning, it got a little monologue heavy in the second half. I was like, too many monologues. I felt like I was watching, in some cases, an acting class. I was like, come on. So anyway, I liked the religious discussion, about that, everything happens for a reason, and that you can turn this negative into a positive is not an excuse. I mean, Hamish Linklater's character, the priest, says, there's nothing about not having to take ownership or responsibility in the Bible. But no spoilers, everybody, but I thought that the discussion about religion creating a way to move forward so that these horrible things that happen don't make you, unable to live your life, I thought was very interesting. It was a different perspective on religion that I had not thought of. So, if you're okay with the religious theology class, you're going to like this. But if you're like, nobody should question it, then you're going to have a problem. I thought it was depressing in spots. I fast-forwarded the monologues about death. I was like, come on, I'm trying to have a nice time. So I did not like those. And I thought it was slow a little bit in the final episodes. I was like, let's get to the big moment. But then the big moments did not disappoint. I was like, this is going to be good. And it was good. So I really liked that. Also, whenever you binge something, I think that it starts to all run together at a certain point, and you start some of the slower pacing elements you don't appreciate as much. But it has such a good mystery, I was like, I need to find out what happens. So I binged it anyway. All right, now as for the cast, as I said, I'm a big Hamish Linklater fan. I liked him on The New Adventures of Old Christine. I was like, why doesn't this guy get more work? So to see him front and center here and so well used, and I thought he was just perfectly cast, it was great. Loved him being there. And his discussion, I could listen to Hamish Linklater talk about religion all day long. He did a great, great job. Samantha Sloyan as Beverly Keene, kind of like the ultimate Karen, like the villain in the piece. I couldn't believe how well done that was. I mean, not only did she do it, she really went for it. She's up there with like, well, Alan Rickman is a likable villain. This woman was so despicable. You were like, I don't even know what to say. She was just awful, like an awful person. And I think partially because she's carved from reality. But the fact, I really like the sophisticated portrayal of her character because it's revealed that, I'm not going to give anything away, but that in some elements she's a coward. And I thought that was interesting. And I thought, how wonderful to have a fully fleshed out, well-developed villain. I thought that was great. And she was very clever. Jen McMahon makes a Nurse Ratched comparison, and I think that's an excellent comparison. That's very, very good. Excellent. She was very smart. She's a very formidable opponent, which also makes her scary. So I thought that was just an incredible character. Probably one of the best villains I've ever seen. The Nurse Ratched comparison, Jen, is fantastic. Rahul Kohli, I was so happy with the job that he did here. As Juan keeps asking, how was Rahul? I thought he was fabulous, especially because I felt in Bly Manor he had such a bad role. I was like, come on, Rahul Kohli deserves better than this role. And here he got it. I thought he was excellent. He did a great job with his monologues. I really liked him. I thought he was great. Very sophisticated, just excellent, excellent stuff. And then I always enjoy Henry Thomas. Even in Bly Manor, I thought some of his scenes were the best. And I thought that Kristen Lehman was a really great addition playing Henry Thomas's wife. So I really, really like those actors. I feel like the jury's out on Kate Siegel. I feel she's Mike Flanagan's wife, and he always casts her, and I feel like she feels to me a little shoehorned in. I feel like she did a good job. Hey, Michael Otto. I think she did like a good job. Like she certainly didn't do a bad job, but she's no Victoria Pendretti, who I really, really missed from the first two, shows. So Kate Siegel was fine, but I think another actress potentially would have maybe done a better job. I also missed Oliver Jackson Cohen, who clearly Zach Gilford was supposed to be a replacement for. I feel like the theater company of Mike Flanagan might hurt him a little bit because it's always the same actors. And so it starts to I think that takes you out of it a little bit. And I thought Zach Gilford, who apparently is from Friday Night Lights, I didn't watch that show. I thought that Zach Gilford was okay. He was okay. I didn't think that he was incredible, though. Although I do feel that he and Kate Siegel had some of the best scenes. They have one scene in particular that I thought was incredible. So, I mean, they really benefited from the stuff that they were given. So I thought this show was excellent. I see some people saying they're disappointed. I was not disappointed, but maybe that's because I went in with such rock bottom expectations. And I thought that when it was good, it was so good that I would highly recommend it to everyone. I thought it was just really, really good. That's right, Stephen. Mike Flanagan does, Ryan Murphy uses the same cast as well. And I don't love that either, to be honest with you. I think it's important to mix it up a little bit. I think it's good to have some people that you keep bringing back. There's always got to be space for Henry Thomas. But sometimes it gets a little bit tiring. It's good to see someone else come and play in the sandbox, quite frankly. All right, so that's my review of Midnight Mass. I highly recommend that you check it out if you like those kinds of gothic horror stories. This is good stuff. Utaka says, do you see any acting awards for this? I got to tell you, it has a very strong Rotten Tomatoes score, but as people have pointed out, horror doesn't usually get a lot of recognition. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't totally see it getting. I think that it's so genre-y, and it would have to so capture people's attention. Everybody would have to be talking about it. Everybody would have to be like, oh my God, did you watch Midnight Mass? Maybe it'll get there. This is the problem a little bit with the binge model. Because if it doesn't hit out of the gate, it doesn't hit. If this were airing weekly, I can see people being like, oh man. Because like after episode 2, I actually texted some people I know who'd also watched episode 1, and I was like, you should watch this. It just got real good. Because, we'd all thought the first episode was not great. But the second episode, I think that it really started to find its groove. And if it had aired weekly, maybe everybody would have been talking about it more. And so I think that's the problem with that model. All right, let's go to the second story of the day. Boop. All right, so also this weekend, The Last of Us released the first look for the HBO show. And it didn't quite click either. That's right, Eli. Eli's right there. Eli sent me that image, and he said they're supposed to be, the top one from the the fact that you can't tell that there's a difference, I think, is both good and bad. I think it's good that they look so on model, but there's nothing really to grab you about that image to be like, oh, live action, let's go. Like, for instance, why on earth would they have a first look with their backs? I mean, I was like, that's Pedro Pascal's neck, all right. But I thought that was ridiculous. I mean, that's such a stupid first look to have just the back of their heads. So I also think, though, that part of the reason that maybe people didn't react too much to this was that I'm wondering if maybe it's because The Last of Us Part 2 was so poorly received. Is this thing like DOA? I think it would be hard for it to be DOA with Pedro Pascal in an HBO show, which I'm sure will air Sunday nights. I would be surprised if this didn't catch on. So we'll see. But I do think that it's a weird first step PR-wise to not have something that gets a little bit more traction. To me, also the people from Chernobyl creatively are attached to this, but to me, I think the most interesting thing is that Pedro Pascal is making $600,000 per episode. That is huge. That is superstar level money. That is like in the range, I think it's actually close to, if not a little bit more than what Henry Cavill makes for The Witcher. So he really got that Mandalorian payday, and so now it's time for him to step up and prove it. That he can bring in that level of an audience. So far, I don't really think that it's been proven that he has that draw, because Wonder Woman didn't do very well. Wonder Woman 1984, although I thought he was excellent in that. But let's see. I mean, so this is his moment. This is Pedro Pascal's moment. That's just an incredible amount of money. That's a very, very big deal. That makes him top tier TV talent. All right, so what do you guys think of this image? Utaka loved it. That's great. Sufjan feels he's miscast. I don't know. It completes his like dad roles. A lot of you feel it looks good. It looks very in-game. That's excellent. I think if you like the game, you're like, oh yeah, it looks just like the game. But I think if you don't play the game, you're like, oh, it's just some people in a field, man. I mean, that's the other thing. I've seen so many dystopian movies and TV shows that it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, you know, this is obviously a very big show. Hey, Beantown Brandon. All right, so let's go to the third story of the day. This is a pretty big deal. And then, of course, we'll do the final 10 minutes of Ask Me Anything. Boom, baby. So today, CAA decided to buy ICM. And now that means that there will be just 3 major agencies, talent agencies in Hollywood. There will be CAA, William Morris Endeavor, WME, the last 2 big agencies to consolidate, and then UTA, which is United Talent Agency. Now, just like studios are consolidating, like Disney buying Fox and some other things going on, you know, there's rumors that someone maybe will buy, you know, other things, you know, everyone's like, well, Amazon or Apple buy something. There's lots of rumors of consolidation going forward. But even internally, everything's going digital, right? So, you know, there's a big focus. You know, it used to be like movies versus TV. Now everyone's kind of looking at a digital landscape, like blockbusters and then a digital landscape. So just as those big companies are, you know, consolidating now, so are the agencies. And in fact, CAA represents many big stars, including Scarlett Johansson. And it was the head of CAA who helped push her to sue Disney for breach of contract. Now, why would agencies want to consolidate? Well, it gives them more bargaining power. If there's less places to go in town to get a better deal, you know, where there's nowhere left to go. So now Hollywood, you know, studios will have to go to one of the 3 agencies. Because these days, agencies do packaging, where they put together a package in-house and they will shop the complete package to a studio. It used to be that, you know, a studio would put together a movie and then they would get a director and they'd get a writer and they'd get talent, they'd get actors attached to it. But that's not the case anymore because things come to them, in the most case, prepackaged. So also you want to have, since so many agencies are doing packaging, you want to have as much stuff as possible at your disposal to package because they do it with in-house talent. So if you're putting together a package at CAA, starring, let's say, Scarlett Johansson, because she's represented by them, you're not going to just pick any director. You're going to look at the directors that are represented by CAA and now ICM. So if you want another actor, you're going to look at the in-house talent. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you decide what agency to sign with. What types of packages would you be in play for? You know, there's always exceptions to the rule. They feel someone's really a great choice for a role, so they'll go get them. But they try to do packaging. And, you know, agencies are a tricky situation. You know, there's always that joke. I don't know if you've seen it. You know, like your agent will try and pitch you for a role. I forget where this joke was made. I think Paul Reiser was the actor in question. And they say, we don't want Paul Reiser. And then they go, well, how about these other actors? Right? They don't even fight for Paul Reiser because the agent just wants to secure the role for the agency. So they'll go down their list of clients to try and plug somebody else in there. So that's always been a problem with agencies, that, you know, an agent is fighting for you to some degree, but they have many clients. And so they just want to lock down the role. It would be nice if it would be for you, but if it's for somebody on their roster, they'll be very happy. But there's been a new problem that's developed where agencies, since they're packaging and have become production companies to a degree, clients often say they feel that their agent is no longer negotiating on their behalf, but is negotiating on the behalf of the agency and is almost not in the client's corner. So as these agencies consolidate, I feel that that's going to become even more of a problem, and they're going to become even more powerful. And also, they're looking at a public offering now. And so are they agencies or are they companies? I think it becomes really hard to tell. Also, it was speculated in the trades that the reason the CAA wanted ICM is because ICM apparently has an incredible book division. So CAA has a bunch of film and TV talent, while ICM has locked up a lot of authors. So that way, instead of them having to bid for these books, they can package an author into the deal as well. An ICM literary client might say, and usually they would shop their new book around town, but instead they'd say, we're not going to shop it around town. We're going to take it over to CAA, our parent company, and we're going to package it over there. And again, that's not so great for the literary client because they're not getting a bidding war for their property. CAA says, hey, look at you. We put Scarlett Johansson in your book. And you're like, that's nice. But how much money would I have gotten if a number of people have been able to bid for this? So yeah, it's not so great for the talent. I told you, just in movie math yesterday, executives are getting more and more power over talent. And I think you can see that even with agencies, where the agents are in control and you should hope that they think of putting you into the package, basically. I believe it was Scarlett Johansson or Natalie Portman who tells this story. At one point, they were both represented by the same agent. And I think it was Scarlett Johansson. I think it was Scarlett Johansson for The Black Dahlia. And Scarlett Johansson was like, I don't like the salary that you have quoted me for this movie. And her agent actually said, well, this is what we're paying in the package. And if you don't like it, Natalie Portman is also represented by us, and we're just going to give the role to her. And she was like, what? Okay. So Scarlett Johansson has been having a difficult time with contract and salary negotiations for her whole career, as you can see. So that's kind of what's going on. So, I mean, but at the same time, agencies need to become more powerful to combat more powerful studios. But at the end of the day, again, talent is the one that loses out in both cases. And there's nothing that talent can do about it except go on strike, which is why they're going to go on strike and why unions are so important. There's no Hollywood executive or agent union. That'd be hilarious. All right, so those are the 3 stories of the day. It's 4:40. We'll go till 4:50, and then I'm going to work on that other video. Steven says, thoughts on Kathryn Hahn playing Joan Rivers in an upcoming Showtime miniseries. I can't wait. She's coming for her Hacks Emmy. Steven, you just undercut your own argument, though. That's really interesting because I feel that Hacks has already done this territory. I think Kathryn Hahn is great casting for Joan Rivers. That's very complimentary. And I'm really happy for Kathryn Hahn just to get such a great role. But I feel like Hacks has already done this, and so it would have to be so good to do that. Mike says, hey Grace, when will we be reviewing No Time to Die? I won't make the embargo. The review embargo for No Time to Die is on Tuesday evening, but I will be reviewing it the next day. Oh, let's see here. Rahul says there's no trailer for What If Episode 8. Must be a big surprise with Multiversal Avengers. I don't know. They might have the little mini trailer tomorrow. I think that's usually the way it goes, right? Sufjan says, do you think Tudum was a success or a flop? Tudum! That's Netflix's big event. Well, they got a lot of views on the stream. I think that it's important to learn I hope the DC fandom was watching that. That's a great comment. Because I think that they compacted it into too short a window. So they released everything within a 3-hour span on Saturday. And I think that things were moving so fast from one thing to the next that nothing totally registered. I also feel they didn't really release anything of note, to be honest with you. I think that everything underwhelmed. They didn't have any actual trailers. They didn't have any actual huge news. So I think that it was a nice first step, but I feel they have a lot to go. Comic-Con works because it's 4 days. Things are spaced out by the panels throughout the day. So you have time for things to kind of click with online before the next thing pops up. And then everyone's like, oh my God. So I think that's a problem. And I know that this year, DC Fandom, last year it was 8 hours, but now DC Fandom has also been compressed into 4 hours. So, but they're going to be showing some amazing stuff. So I think that's going to go a little bit better. Marco, as I said at the beginning of the stream, the Marvel rights situation is a video I've made separately, and that will be going up later today. I've already filmed it. Let's see here. Ivan says, are you going to review the Squid Game or Foundation? Probably not, because nobody online is really talking, in the video space is really talking about either of those projects either. And also, if I don't review something right away, it doesn't really work out. And I only made an exception for Midnight Mass because it's, just a couple of days after it came out, and I had space in the live stream, to be honest with you. Tyra Nicole, I like Tyra Nicole. You look a little like Tyra Banks in your picture. It caught my attention. I used to love America's Next Top Model. Grace, the Dune sequel hasn't been greenlit yet, so does the box office and HBO Max numbers what do they need to look like for that to happen? Great question, Tyra. I think that the box office will need to be, I said before in Movie Math, Godzilla vs. Kong is a really important comp. Because, HBO Max is seriously going to undercut its box office potential. So I think box office-wise, you got to look at GVK. But in terms of HBO Max numbers, they'll never release them. But, Samba TV will come in there. Samba TV will Samba in there and say, hey, this is how it did. I think it would need to do close to Mortal Kombat numbers. It would have to be really big for them to feel really good about it, I think. I think also, like, if everyone talks about it, I think that's really important. I think it would have to have, like, some longevity, like great holds each week. I think that stuff's all really important. Jico says, Grace, do you think 9 Perfect Strangers will be an awards contender? I don't think so. I think White Lotus is going to take that space. I think White Lotus will be the big awards contender. Although still very successful. I wish that HBO and HBO Max were a single service. I hear that HBO Max and Discovery will be combining into one service, although who didn't see that coming? I wish that HBO would also consolidate and they had just one streaming service, goddammit, and that these things were factored into Nielsen ratings every week, because nobody has any idea how these stupid shows are doing. And I think they would be very competitive. I'm very upset about it. Owl Watch says, how come you didn't review Batman The Long Halloween Part 2? Because I hated it. And I was like, I don't really want to make a video just saying how much I hated it. I thought it was awful. They changed so much about the comic, it just made me so angry. Lamatya, Mortal Kombat did not great at the theatrical box office, but I think it's because HBO Max undercut it, and it was a huge hit on HBO Max. Warner Brothers sees, as we all do, tremendous potential in that brand for them outside of the games. That's why they keep pumping out the animated movies. Lena says, Grace, do you think Warner Brothers and Patty will eventually make the HBO Max Amazon series? I bet they never make that. I think from what I've heard, they're still not quite sure to do about Wonder Woman 3. It might be a versus movie, which I actually think is a good idea. Anything that makes Wonder Woman fight a whole lot. I just saw a trailer with one of the Williams sisters as Wonder Woman, and she looked so incredible as Wonder Woman. I was so impressed. I was like, she should be Philippus. I just thought it was fantastic. Bryce says, what do you think DC needs to do to get some well-received movies out there? Well, I think the Batman is supposed to be really good. I've heard very bad things about the third act of that movie. Very bad things. But so hopefully, it works, and hopefully they were able to fix it with some of the extensive reshooting that they did. But that should be, I hopefully think, well-received. It looks cool. I mean, it's certainly, I think, the most anticipated. Let's see here. Serena, she just looks fabulous. I thought only Gal Gadot could look good in the Wonder Woman suit, but I was like, nope, Serena looks amazing. And very powerful. I was impressed. Ulysses Hernandez says, are the Supergirl pictures real? Hey, Damani Level, you mean like the picture somebody took of like the video tap on set? I mean, that one I think is real. They have a very bad on-set leaker. I'm surprised they can't find the on-set leaker. Madeline says, besides Cavill, any Bond suggestions? Hey, Madeline. I feel pretty bad for Barbara Broccoli because everybody, when I tweeted today that I wanted Henry Cavill to be the new Bond, I was amazed at the variety of what people wanted. I was like, wow, there's no majority, it seems, in one section. So some people would like to see a more intellectual Bond, a more cerebral Bond, more elegant. Some people would like to see a person of color cast in the role. So, I mean, you're seeing just, and then even then, there's no one that rallying behind in either scenario. It's not like everyone's like, it should be this person of color or it should be this like intellectual type person instead of someone who has more physical qualities. And even then, it's like people are all over the place. So, I mean, they did a really good job. And, that's how good they did with a casting job on the last one on Casino Royale. It was down to Daniel Craig and Henry Cavill. So I have high hopes they'll be able to get someone. I know that some people said, hey, if you play a spy somewhere else, you can't be Bond. But that's not true because both Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan had already played spies other places. So they like it when you play a spy. They're like, looks like Bond. Mikey Bray says, what about Henry Golding? I would have been with you on that, Mikey, if Snake Eyes had done better. Snake Eyes did so poorly, and I thought Henry Golding was so good in it, it scared me about his ability to draw an audience. Made me real scared. I was like, I wouldn't do it if I were Barbara Broccoli after that. Ashley says, when was the last time you were truly shocked by a plot twist in a movie? That's easy. Malignant. I was like, what am I watching? As you know from my review. Lena says, if Wonder Woman 3 was to be a versus movie, who would she have to face? That I did not hear. Hey, Amelia. Thanks for joining. Oh, that's a very sweet message, Daniel. I appreciate that. Spying Mentor says, thoughts on the Mario cast? Well, I think we don't know how it's going to look, and, it's a voice cast. I do feel that, not having someone, it's weird to me, like not having someone who's Italian voice the character, I think is an odd thing. But yet everybody was like, no, we want the Caucasian voice actor who's been doing that offensive accent for so long. Not this new Caucasian guy can't do that same thing. I was like, either it's offensive or it's not offensive. People really don't. I mean, Chris Pratt has not tested himself at the box office yet since everyone decided they dislike him for some, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, did he really do anything? But then I remember some of the things that he's affiliated himself with, and I'm like, that's pretty bad. So I think that the jury is still out on Chris Pratt, and the only thing that will decide whether or not he's still viable are the box office for his movies. So let's see how Jurassic World Dominion does. Like, my own situation with Chris Pratt is I'm like, man, he's a problem, and I don't like that. I think he's a little bit almost like I have no problem with people being religious, but I feel like Chris Pratt like tries to convert people. I mean, I think religion is a personal thing, and I don't think it's something you should try to like apostatize to other people. So that always really rubs me the wrong way with him. But then when I see him in movies, I'm like, he's so good. He's very talented. Oh, it's 4:52. I love talking to you guys. I always run over on the time. All right, everybody. I hope you have a lovely day. It's so nice to see all of you. I will be maybe streaming tomorrow. I'll know my schedule a little bit better earlier in the day. But there will be 3 streams this week. I'm just not sure which days they will be. All right. Well, I think the other day for sure will be Friday, and definitely not Wednesday. So the Tuesday, Thursday is the one that's up in the air. All right, everybody. See you soon. Bye. Bye, everybody.